It's the second season of the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. Jen and Angela are two moms raised on Disney magic, figuring out parenthood one day, one milestone, and sometimes one meltdown at a time. Thanks for listening and enjoy this week's new episode.
Well, there's a first time for everything, and we're recording in the morning. It's 9 a.m/10 a.m.
Yep.
And Jen has her kids around.
Yes.
Which is also a first because normally they're in bed when you record.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the ideal situation. And I'm sure during this recording, we will all know why.
I loved the analogy she used. Her son, before we started recording, did like a little squeal because he was excited about a game he was playing. And Jen's like, can we just like keep the little teapot sounds to a minimum? Like, I have never heard it explained like that, and now I'm fully using that.
Yeah, because it totally sounds like there was a day he did it, and I was like, did I start to boil water? Because my memory lately, some days it's a little foggy, and I'm like, I drink tea. Did I want tea? Do I have it? And I was like, what was that? And he looked at me. He's like, it was me. I was like, what? You
Really?
made that sound?
You speak in whistle tones, Mariah? What?
Crazy.
So question,
Yeah.
when you make your tea, do you have like a stove kettle, one that's plugged in, or do you microwave?
Oh, such good questions. Also, this was an entire discussion I had. Do you know our friend Jeff on Twitter at Schmelty? He listens to this podcast. It is Jeffers. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's a big fan of this podcast. Thanks, Jeff, for listening every week. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
We had a whole discussion because he's in Canada, and we had a discussion about kettles versus teapots versus boiling water in a pot and how we do it. So I guess I have a teapot. So I boil stovetop teapot. Okay. Yeah. Boil the water. I put the tea bag in. I pour the water over the tea bag in the mug, all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
I did for a while have a Poland Spring water cooler thing in my kitchen, which had a hot side. So I never had to boil water for a while.
Oh, okay.
That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I have never personally like boiled water in like a pot. I don't have any other kind of kettles. So those would be my only two things. So if I microwave, it's usually because like no, I don't really microwave. I just don't really go that route. What about you?
So when I lived in England, we used an electric kettle. Mm-hmm. And so that was my first kind of experience with tea.
Yeah.
So we'd use the electric one, we'd plug it in, then it'd tell you when it was done, and then we'd have to de-lime scale it. I like how I'm like clearly not talking in a British accent. I'm just talking a more delicate time. I can talk in a British accent, but it's just like not coming out today. It's actually one of the few accents I can do. I'm working on my Long Island one, but the top two, I'd say. But yeah. So I learned all about de-lime scaling it and everything. That was my first experience. I would drink, for those wondering, Twinings and, PG Tips, I think. Yeah, it's the Twinings every day and then the PG Tips. And then I didn't really drink tea ever again because I feel like it was like a British, me in England thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know.
I will typically have like green tea and then nothing in it, just the tea itself. But if I were to ever have regular tea, I would do like milk and sugar, which I think is a very British type thing. But that's how I started drinking tea, I think that way. And my old boss, I don't know if maybe he had lived in England for a bit or something, where he had said like you put the milk in first and then everything on top, which is the only way I make coffee now, as I put like the creamer in first, then the coffee. I don't do it the other way around.
I feel like it's like a very like shows your personality for like what you do, what your preferences are. I never used sugar. Yeah. I always just did milk. So now I have something called spice tea, and it's something that my Polish grandma would make. I don't even know, honestly, if you can call it tea. It's iced tea mix mixed with lemonade mix mixed with tang mix.
Oh, interesting.
And then like apple pie spice or something.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it gives you that like 3:00 pickup when you're just dragging, but you're like, I've already had 2 cups of coffee today. I cannot have more caffeine, but I need something. It gives you that little tiny pickup. It's delish.
Yeah.
So that's what I drink now in the afternoon. And you can't boil water in a Keurig. I feel like most people know this because you just get the watery coffee grounds in there. I don't have an electric kettle. I don't have a teapot. So I just microwave water for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm a microwaver.
Sense. Now, when you have coffee, what do you put in your coffee?
So
some coffee talk since it's the morning.
Coffee. I'm a cold brew person. So I make my own cold brew. And then it lasts for about a week. And then I just add creamer to it.
Okay. Yeah.
But like a flavored creamer.
Yeah. Vanilla. I used to be very big on like milk and just a ton of sugar and a splash of coffee, basically. But then milk. I got into like vanilla creamer, and I'll just do that with coffee.
Yeah.
But your grandmother's drink reminded me of like an Arnold Palmer. Have you heard of that? Yeah,
like
which
a
is
hot
just
one.
Right, but it's like fancier. It's like it goes steps further because that's just the iced tea and lemonade.
Like so elevated.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's like a Grandma Palmer.
Next level.
Elevated. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but we don't have a topic for today. It's shocking, right?
But the next 2 weeks, maybe 3, but at least 2, we have some guests coming up, which is very exciting. So, but I feel like this is almost like this is our 3rd show in a row where it's just been us.
I know. It's
crazy.
Just really shocking that we're running out of topics, right?
I think it's also that we just sprung this on ourselves. Like, hey, do you want to record in a half hour? Okay.
I mean, there is a reason. It's not like we're just poor planning.
Right.
I get my 2nd shot tomorrow, and normally we would plan to record later at night. But just from everyone I've talked to, I'm going to feel like crap the night I get my shot. It's just what I'm assuming.
Right.
And so I told Jen, I'm like, we can try to record that night. I don't think I'll feel totally crappy yet.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, let's just record earlier.
Yeah.
So we were going to do it tonight. I don't know why I'm telling this story. No one cares.
People like behind the scenes content, right?
Yeah, I know. What is it? Mommy Monday. Never mind. I'm just not going to try. I was going to try to crack a joke, and then I haven't had my 2nd cup of coffee. Behind the scenes, magical mommies.
I love it. We do didn't we have a topic? We have a kind of topic.
You know, we played around. We dabbled with a couple of them. And I don't know. I just wasn't in a very serious mood, but who knows? Maybe I'll get there.
It could.
Maybe I'll get there.
All right.
Well, I mean, but welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast.
Yeah, we can welcome everyone in.
Yeah.
Welcome to our coffee talk, where all we talk about is dogs, daughters, and coffee.
Oh my gosh, please talk like that forever. I'm Angela.
Yes, we're still introing. Go ahead.
Here with my Long Island co-host, Jen. Say your name in the Long Island way. Is it still Jen Snyder? Is it Jen Snyder?
No, it would totally be Jen Snyder. Because you drop the E, anything that ends in an ER, you drop and add an A. If it ends in an A, you typically add an ER. Yeah, Snyder.
What's my name?
I mean, you would probably just be more like Angela, like more Ange. Yeah.
Angela
Ange.
Dahlgren.
I think Dahlgren would probably. Yeah, that would probably stay the same.
I like how like
I'm like really thinking about it too.
People from the East Coast, their accents are so cool. They're like a circus act. Meanwhile, no one's asking Minnesotans to talk.
It's like, yours is so good. I love it. I love when your accent comes out more.
No, you will say that occasionally. You'll be like, I was editing and I did notice your accent come out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But
I really need to get my high school VHS out because you need to see it. I told my husband that we have to set up the VCR because I want to record some of my video for you. And he's like, I mean, is she ready for that? He's like,
I don't think I am.
It's a lot. It's a lot to see.
I just don't think you realize how special you are. That you get to have this accent.
Oh, here we go. Okay, and I'm back.
No, you don't understand how lucky you are to have this cool accent. Oh, meanwhile, I'm like stuck in Fargo days.
Yeah, but I like yours, especially. I mean, I like other accents better than New York, I guess. But it's funny because when I worked in Epcot, people would come into the exhibit and I would hear the accent right away and I'd be like, oh, where are you from in New York? And they'd be like, what? How did you know? And I'm like,
it's just a thing I have.
And then they'd be like, Brooklyn. I'm like, right, cool. I grew up on Long Island. They were like, what? Oh, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah. I think that was when I started to lose my accent too. So then they were like confused by that. Yeah. But then some people would say, oh, I'm from New York. And I'm like, oh, really? Where are you from in New York? They'd be like, Buffalo. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not from New York. But
you're lying. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not. That's like,
you moved there.
Yeah, that's not.
I have a friend from New Jersey. Shout out to Michelle. I love you so much.
Shout out.
And I think I've told her this. I'm like, you're not from New Jersey. You can't be. Because she has like a Southern accent.
That's so funny.
It does not make sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're not from, no, she's like, no, I was born and raised there. I'm like, no, you're not.
I know.
You can't be. Like, okay, Jen, do New Jersey people sound like they're like New York people?
Oh, yeah. And Jersey is funny because you either have more of like a New York type accent or you kind of have a Philly accent depending on where in Jersey you are.
What does a Philly accent sound like?
A Philly accent is more like my in-laws, they were like born and raised in Pennsylvania, closer to like the suburbs of Philly. But then they had lived in Florida for like 17 years and now they're back in Jersey. So like, their accent will come out every once in a while. So they will say like water for water, like more of like a WOR, like water. Yeah. And what are some, now I'm like blanking on things. They'll say some things and I'll be like, oh, and they'll like, instead of robots, they'll be like robots. I'm like, robots? Like robots? Yeah, they come up with random things. So they have more, there's like a distinct accent there too. So I think there's some sort of division in Jersey and I don't really understand where it is, but you can go either way. There's a line and you can go either way. We'll have to ask Adam from the Mouse and More.
We will. We're going to have to ask him coming up here. I never had this thick of an accent. I think I've talked about this before. In fact, I know I have. Mm-hmm. My mom's from the Chicago area. My dad is from Southern Illinois. So my dad had more of an accent, like the K.
Yeah.
K. More of that just tiny little Southern twang. Which is now gone, but my mom just had a very normal accent, which is funny because I think she was born in Wichita and she also had a Southern accent. So my parents have very like average normal accents, like where you'd be like, I don't know where you're from because it's just a normal accent.
Right.
But then they moved to Minnesota because my dad got a job and that's where I was born and raised. And because I lived with two parents with normal accents, I kind of have one. But then I married my husband, who is born and raised in Minnesota, and he has like those Norwegian roots. His parents are from Minnesota, like for generations. So they've got kind of thick accents. And then I moved up into the Twin Cities area where it seems like everyone's accent is a little thicker. So I think that's how mine got a little... Yours went away and mine got worse.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because anytime you talk about Rochester, because we have a Rochester in New York. And so when you say that, I'm always like, wait, what? Oh, right. No, Minnesota. Right. And Rochester in New York has a pretty distinct accent as well. And it's almost closer to Minnesota. I mean, it's definitely not closer to New York, down here, New York City area, suburbs, whatever. But they have more of like we have a friend who lives in Rochester and she's always like, oh my gosh, what? And just Rochester, like more of like the open mouth
New York or Minnesota?
No, New York, Rochester, New York. That's why when I say I love y'all in upstate New York, but We have very different accents. So
that sounds like a Midwestern accent.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's more like more country when you go further up state than it is like city. So
I'd say that Florida accents are a little bit more like Southern Illinois accents.
yeah,
Just like a really slight Southern twang. Very slight.
Yeah.
If you're homegrown.
Yeah, I remember trying to order coffee when I still had an accent in Disney, and the person was not understanding me saying coffee. And they were like, what? And I had to like force myself to try to get out like coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee,
which is how, like if my mom tries to correct her accent, because my husband doesn't have a New York accent because he wasn't born and raised here, and so he gets a kick out of like my family's accents. So he has called my mom on her accent sometimes, where I'm always like, don't call her on her accent, it makes her self-conscious. So she'll try to like overcorrect her words sometimes, and I'm like, just speak, just do it, just be you're fine. We just love it. That's all. It's good.
I mean, to talk about being insecure. When I was in England, like they always wanted the Americans. Actually, this goes both ways. We wanted the British to say Harry Potter, and they wanted us to say Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We go Harry Potter, and we
Love
go
it.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry
Potter. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I love how British people say aluminium. That's my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Well, we I mean there are a lot of different words for things. Mm-hmm. Like handbag is purse, and serviette is napkin, and cutlery is silverware. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be like, oh gosh, I need a napkin, or I need a fork and spoon. And they'd be like, oh, you need a serviette. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that sounds like a sanitary napkin.
Yeah.
Like, what? So, like, even though we're technically all speaking the same language,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand. Oh, the cutlery's over there, and it's like cutlery. Like, yeah, it's pretty much the same in the U.S. Like cutlery is over, but it's like, no, I need a fork, knife, and spoon. Oh, what are you telling me? Very dumb.
Wow, good times. I have not been over to Europe at all. I need to get there.
You know, we were talking about research trips this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think Disneyland Paris should be on our list.
That's on the list for sure.
Mine is also Shanghai and Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're over there, you might as well like go to the other place if you're already that far.
Right. Just keep going. Well, and that, and quite honestly, that was always our issue when I worked for an airline. There were times where like we could have had an opportunity to like, there's time we had tickets where we could have flown to Ireland and basically just paid taxes. Oh. And I was like, we should go. Let's plan it. You know what though? While we're over there, let's make a whole trip out of it with like Ireland, London, Paris. And like we'd plan all this stuff and be like, oh, this is going to cost some money. We don't have this money, right? You know what? Never mind. And then we just wouldn't go where we could have just gone to Ireland and had a fabulous time. And then it's like, no, but of course we had to make it bigger in our heads. And like, oh, well, we can't go to 3 places. Well, forget it. I'm not going to one amazing place then. Doing anything. That's silly. That was a silly thing we did.
Where I get stuck is, and I know I'm not the only one, infuriates my husband, is I want to keep going to Disney.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, if I don't go to Disney, I don't know the next time I'm going to go.
Yep.
And he's like, there are so many places in the world to see. Mm-hmm. Disney will always be there. Like, we need to see other places beyond. I'm like, but we have Epcot and the World Showcase. Like, we can just go to 11 pavilions. It's fine. And we were going to go to England and then maybe a couple other countries, like you said, for our 10-year anniversary, which is this year. But now with the virus and then England's under lockdown, I think till like mid-March or something. I don't know if that's going to happen. And the reason we picked March or the UK is because that's where I studied abroad. And then he came to visit me during that time. And so it's just kind of a special place to us.
It's interesting. I feel like Paris is it like more of a girl thing than, I don't know why. I mean, not that guys don't want to go or don't want to see it, but I almost feel like it's like a little girl's dream to go to Paris or something like that. So maybe it is more of like a girl thing than a guy thing, not to be sexist. But I think that's awesome that, like, because you studied abroad, it's like there's a little special something to it as well.
And I think it was like our first time as a couple being alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in a dorm. I don't know how alone we really were, but we did like day trips alone and whatnot. Oh gosh, is he gonna get mad at me? He doesn't listen to the podcast. What does he care? He won't know. He like really didn't want to go to Paris at all. Mm-hmm. He's like, let's just go to like Ireland.
Yeah.
And which I've been to Ireland and I love it. Mm-hmm. By the way, there's a bed and breakfast. The man's name is Frank, and he has a lovely wife who makes fresh pastries every morning. Oh. And if you go to Ireland, if his bed and breakfast is still open, his name is Frank. I don't know what it's called, but he is so nice. He brought me breakfast in bed. It was really, really nice of him. He's so sweet. Anyway.
That's the old school version of sliding into your DMs right there.
I know. I guess it kind of is. Anyway, he didn't want to go to Paris. And then I don't know how this happened, but I'm like, we were picking a new show on Netflix. I think you know where this is going. And I somehow roped him into watching Emily in Paris. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to hate this show, blah, blah, blah. And then we watched the first episode. He's like, oh, crap. Don't tell anyone. I think I like it. Uh-huh. And now suddenly he's like, okay, I'd go to Paris.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think we might do it.
Do it. I know. It's on our list.
It's not this year, though.
No. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, too. When he's like, oh, Disney will always be there. Will it? Because if we learned anything in the pandemic, it can shut down at any point.
Yep. For a long time.
Early 2020, when we met on our magical trip and we were down there, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good year. I'm going to come down here a few times this year. It's going to be good. I think it's going to be like the start of like one of those good Disney years.
Yep.
No, here I am. I haven't been in over a year.
I know, but it's going to get better.
Yes.
We're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So we're going to plan a trip. It's going to be good.
It will be good. We'll get back there into the magic.
I'm in denial that I'm even going back to Florida at all this year. I know it's happening.
Are you so excited? Would you like to talk about your trip?
Well, are we going to save it for Frankie?
Oh, we could do that. Either way.
I mean, just as like a preview, I guess.
Yeah.
My husband, I don't know why he did this. I was just like having
he loves you? I don't know.
Ew. I was just having a day last week. Oh my God, I'm going to sound so spoiled. I was like, I'm just really burned out. Like, the kids have really been challenging me with distance learning and crying and tears and meltdowns. I'm like, I'm just really burned out. It's like, you should go somewhere. You should go on a trip. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't. I'm not vaccinated. Like, well, you're going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, no. I'm like, if there's anything this pandemic has made me, it's codependent on my family. Like, they just a year of taking care of them. They now invade every waking thought. Yeah. I think about them. Like, I am just completely codependent on them. They're always with me. And he's like, that is exactly why you should go. You need to go on a trip by yourself. I'm like, nope, that's scary. I don't do things on my own. I grew up in a family of 4 kids where I was the youngest. I was always taken care of. I was always with people. I do not do things alone. Plus, I mean, I just think that it's more fun to do things with people. Yeah. It's not like I can't be by myself. It's not like I don't like being with myself. I just don't want to be alone. Yeah. Maybe this is something I should explore in therapy. I don't know. Like, maybe this is something that's like, oh, I should take a look just a little deeper. But he's like, no, he's the mama bird. I'm pushing you out of the nest. And you need to know what it's like to go somewhere alone and do something on your own.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn it. I think he's onto something here. He's like, here's a flight. Go book it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going. So what's the first thing I do? I ask my brother if he wants to come with. He's like, yeah, let's go. So we book a trip. Then he calls me back. He's like, oh, I can't go anymore. I'm like, oh, almost had a friend. Then needless to say, I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
On my own.
We're excited. Is this still the same time frame you told me about, or is this later?
It's different.
Okay.
But like I'm also by myself, so I don't want to give away too many details.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
And I will be seeing Michael's family.
Mm-hmm.
Because they live in Florida. So I'm not going to be by myself the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be with them for part of it. But like I'll be doing like some of the park days by myself. So
yeah. Well, stay tuned for the Dillows sibling reunion over at youtube.com/DillowsDiz on Thursday, February
25th.
Yeah. And we will be discussing your trip some more without giving away too many details because, you're kind of a big deal and people don't need, the paparazzi doesn't need to come out.
Stop it. The 3 people who know nothing about Universal are going to discuss Universal. What could possibly go wrong?
Hopefully Steffers will be in the chat to help us along.
She's going to be like, that's not what it's called.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not where it's located.
Exactly.
Nope, don't do that. So
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. It's going to be good.
It'll be good. It'll be good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what this could segue into with all this talk of travel could be the topic we were somewhat thinking about with the analogy we were going to make.
This is true. Oh my gosh, good for you.
Right?
With that segue.
Full circle.
Oh, wow. I was talking to my mom. My mom.
Over a hot dish.
What is it? Tater tot casserole.
Oh.
Everyone thinks that's like a huge Minnesota thing.
Yeah.
I never tried tater tot hot dish until I was in my 20s, people. So.
And do you love it?
It's okay. Broccoli chicken casserole that my mom makes. That stuff is the shiz.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. I will make it for you when you come to Minnesota.
Okay.
There's a lot of cheese whiz in it. Very on brand for Minnesota.
Love it.
Anyway, so we were talking about how the boomers, generalization, it was give all of your attention to the kid, give them everything you didn't have at the expense of your own demise.
Right.
Do not take care of yourself because you're taking care of your children. Millennials, in my opinion, we are kind of in this in-between where it's half the time it's who can suffer the most and give the most of yourself. But also it's also you can't ever leave your kids home alone. So you always need to be with them all the time, but you also need to prioritize your self-care. So it kind of makes me curious as far as where the Gen Zers will go with parenting.
That's true.
Anyway, my mom made the analogy. She's like, it's like if you're in a plane and the masks come down and they tell you that you have to put your mask on first before your child's.
Right.
You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of the others. So it just kind of got me thinking about that analogy up to Jen. And it's what do we think of that? Are we taking care of ourselves? And is it selfish to take care of yourself? Should we be more selfish? Something to contemplate. I like how I bring this topic off, and Jen and I I don't know. Let's open it up.
I'll open it up for discussion here. We'll take some questions from the audience. Anyone?
No? Okay.
So I think that as an elder millennial, which by the way, I really hate that term, but technically I fall into the elder millennial category.
It's a geriatric millennial.
Exactly. I'm a geriatric millennial.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Anyway.
I do not like that term.
So if I am offering advice, let's say, to someone, unsolicited or not, if I am offering, I'm like, you need to take care of yourself. Even in a pre-kid world, you need to take care of yourself. You need to figure out what makes you happy career-wise or self-wise or whatever before you can get into a relationship. You need to figure you out first. I'm very not great at practicing what I preach. I'm better at preaching. So when it comes to like mom stuff, I am very much old school, I think, in the way of I need to take care of them. I need to put them first. It's all about them and, whatever else. But I think in the last year or so, and the development of my Hashimoto's and all these other things that have then like literally forced me to stop in my tracks, where mentally I want to do one thing, physically I cannot, that has kind of made me go, oh, okay, so do I have to take care of myself a little bit now? So that's, so now I'm battling constantly with myself to try to find the balance, which I don't expect. I also have no expectations of finding that balance, anytime soon, considering how long I have spent worrying about everybody else first, and I still have that. I'm definitely still more about worrying about everyone else. So I'm trying to find time for myself or whatever. I do think it's funny. Like sometimes I see TikToks or memes or whatever about like, how did self-care for moms become like basic hygiene? Like, wow, I was able to shower today. Hashtag self-care. Wow, I was able to finish a cup of coffee. Hashtag self-care. Like, wait. Why are these things self-care?
It's the bare minimum.
Day to day. I cleaned myself today. That's good. And I get it, because as moms, sometimes you don't have time to shower and all of that stuff. But I also don't think that should fall into a self-care category. I feel like self-care would be more like working out, or, maybe going to get your nails done every once in a while when, maybe there wasn't a pandemic going on, or like, whatever things that are outside of the house, like little treats for yourself. To me, that's more self-care than like, I took a shower today and it was great. So there's also like finding the definition of self-care and what it means. But at the same time, as I continue to ramble, I am trying to figure out, like, thinking about myself a little more of what I need and what my body's saying more so than I used to. Does any of that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot to unpack. Every time you'd say something, I'd be like, oh, I want to comment on that.
You could just interrupt me and start talking.
No, because you had a lot of things to say and I wanted to listen to it. It sounds like you lean maybe a little more towards the boomer mentality.
Yes.
As far as put the kids first, put myself last. Do you feel, and I'm asking this, do you feel like, obviously I'm asking you a question, like the fact that you stay home, do you feel more pressure to put everyone else first because it's your contribution to the family? Do you feel like that has something to do with it, or do you think it's just your nature as a person?
I think it's just my nature.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, and I think I have at times been like, I don't know that I've ever, I think I struggled in the beginning with like, oh, I'm not making money. This is, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I kind of fall into sometimes an older school mentality where I absolutely think anyone of any gender should be able to do whatever they want, have a career, work crazy hours, work part-time, work, whatever it is, freelance, whatever you want to do. Have your family, have your kids. I'm not someone who's like, oh, well, you wanted a career, so you shouldn't have had kids. No, you should be able to do whatever you want. But I also feel like having one of us home for the last 6 years, sometimes I do go into that old school mentality of like, oh my God, can you imagine if like both of us worked, how much harder this situation would have been, or this situation, whatever it is. But because one of us is staying home, we do have more time to figure out or divide and conquer or whatever it is. So I definitely think there is an old school mentality for me, but I also think it is definitely my nature to put everybody first.
I don't even know if that's an old school mentality. I think it's just your lifestyle. I think everybody's lifestyles are different.
Yeah.
And their jobs all have different demands. And so
Yeah.
you need to make your life work around those demands. For example, my husband and I agreed that due to the nature of his job, I would need to work no more than part-time.
Yeah.
Because he does shift work. He might work till midnight one night. He might work at 5 a.m. the next day. And it's just not super reasonable in the life that we wanted to build for ourselves for there to be another full-time working parent. Not to say that it can't be done, because there are people in his job that have both spouses working full-time. But it's just the life that we wanted to build.
Yes.
So I think it just depends on the life you want.
Yeah, that's true.
But I definitely hear what you're saying as far as it's just who you are as a person. I know that when I stopped working, I think it was just a lot of different things happening. Like, it was the first time I didn't have a job in a long time. I was recovering from getting my tonsils out, which was weird. And I was kind of in the midst of finding myself, because I was in a situation where, and this is also what I talked to my mom about. I needed to re-find myself, because is it a matter of needing to re-find yourself, or is it you had babies and toddlers for so long and they're now at a point where they're old enough where you can take the time to spend on yourself, you're not as sleep deprived anymore. They don't require as much of your attention, and you can make time for hobbies again.
Yes.
And so, basically I just took all of last year to be like, what do I like? What are my hobbies? Who am I? But was it more of like, did I lose myself, or was I just so busy raising babies and toddlers?
Right. Yes, I agree with that, because I definitely feel like I hit a point, I don't know when, maybe 2 years ago or so, where I was like, oh, wait, how old am I? Wait, have I bought new clothes in like the last couple of years? And like all of a sudden I was like,
that's where I was.
Wait, oh, this is what they talk about. When all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what just happened the last couple of years? I don't remember doing anything except raising babies. But yeah, I think it's just evolving, which anyone is doing, whether you're a parent or not. You're constantly evolving and changing and figuring out what you like and what works and what doesn't. And, I also feel like in your 30s, in your late 30s, maybe in your 40s, you're also like, wait, I'm doing this job and I'm good at it, but does that mean I should be doing it if it doesn't make me happy? Or, what do I really want to do? Can I figure out that kind of lifestyle? And then it's hard to mix with like, oh, but I do have a family now. So what is the best thing? And, there are definitely times where I feel like I want a tiny house life and to travel the country and homeschool the kids. And, oh, right, but we have to figure out money and like how we're making money along the way. Along the way. So, there's that too. But, I have various dreams of things, but who knows what's actually going to happen.
Oh no, Michael wants that tiny house life so bad. He asks me at least once a week, can we move to Colorado? Get a tiny house? No, we can't.
Yeah.
No.
I know.
I need my mom.
Yeah.
I need my mommy. Kids need their cousins.
Yeah.
But, going back to that self-care, is it selfish to say, no, this is my time to exercise, which I don't even think should be seen as self-care. I think that should be seen just as important as showering, getting yourself dressed, getting yourself ready in the day. Is it selfish to say, dinner's done, dishes are done, I'm going to go upstairs and take a bath. Bye.
Right.
These are little things that don't cost anything. It's not getting yourself a coffee, which I do. It's not, getting your hair done, which I do. It's going to take a bath, or being like, I'm just going to go in my room and read a book because that's what I need to do. These things don't cost anything, but can avoid burnout, which I think is most important. How do we avoid burnout? Because I feel if you're a parent, or you've an employee who's been working endless hours, you've been there.
Yep, absolutely.
And it makes life not fun.
And 2020, how are you not burnt out after 2020? No matter if you're a parent, if you're not a parent, if you work full time, if you work part time, whatever you are, if you're a combination of all of those things, how are you not burnt out after 2020 and really still into 2021? I mean, I think we're all in that mode as well. And I think it's also opened doors and windows and light bulbs or something for everybody to also realize like, oh, I do need to take a look at myself and what makes me happy and what freaks me out. And this is way too much time in my own head because I'm just home all the time. And now I'm not, you're not getting out. You're not socializing as much. You're not going to as many places. So it's like, you're also kind of like forced to look at yourself more and figure out what you want, what makes you happy. And also how like the whole idea of make every moment count and really take hold of your life, and life is too short to not do what makes you happy, and all of that kind of comes up too, and trying to balance that with like actually being able to live that life that you want to live that makes you that happy. So there's like way too much that I think 2020 stirred up for everybody too. Like, yeah.
Well, it's doing what makes you happy, but there's a pandemic, so if you want to go do this, you can't because there's a pandemic.
Yep.
Or if what makes you happy is seeing your 80-year-old grandma, but you can't because you could get her sick.
Yep, exactly.
So I can totally see how mental health has suffered.
Oh, yeah.
Mine has. I mean, clearly, I am now in therapy and taking medicine. We've seen so much death. The healthcare workers will have PTSD after all that they've seen and dealt with. So self-care is more important than ever, and focusing on our mental health journey is more important than ever.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So be taking care of yourself, people. It's not selfish to put yourself first sometimes.
It's not. And I know it's hard because I go through that. I go through phases of like, yeah, I'm working out. I am taking that time. I'm reading again. I'm doing this. And then I'll have a week of like, I literally didn't do anything. I didn't do anything for myself.
But you've been taking more naps, and I'm so proud of you. Well, you've been listening to your body.
Yes. If I need to, yes. And I sometimes will wait, especially when sometimes I'm doing live YouTubes or whatever, or recording things at night, that when my husband is done with work, I go to bed and I take a nap for a little bit in order to get me through to that point. But yeah, I think, there's a lot of guilt for me, as we've talked about plenty of times, the mom guilt. There's been a lot of guilt for me when I have been wanting to do one thing, but not being able to do it. And so there have been times where I'm like, hey guys, you want to watch a movie in mommy's bed? So mommy can close her eyes a little bit during the movie. Even if I'm not like passed out asleep, I'm just kind of resting to reset because doing whatever we were just doing has literally fogged my brain so much. But
I do that like 3 times a week.
Yeah. But it is a juggle, and trying to find the balance is not easy. And I think everyone is kind of in a similar boat right now in various ways, but we're all in a similar boat of trying to find a balance to life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just doing our best, man.
Yeah, we're trying.
We
try our best. That's all you can do.
There.
As Daniel Tiger says, do your best. The best is the best for you.
Wise. So wise.
He also says, keep trying. You'll get better.
My gosh.
Try.
These are some good hashtags.
Daniel Tiger is amazing, and he has a lot of great lessons.
So underrated.
He really is. I can sing his whole album if you want, but
I think you should start right now.
No, that's okay.
Maybe a bonus episode.
Yeah, maybe another time.
With that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we have a website that we never post to. So maybe we'll do that at some point. We've been meaning to, you guys. Yeah. 2021, am I right? I hope you're having a great day, night, whatever you are doing, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.